Good afternoon. We are joining Keys to Living, and Herb Keener is your host, and I am Herb Keener. So we're talking to you today. The name of the show being Keys to Living, we try to bring up some things that you're able to grasp on so that you can have a better life on this planet. Because we're not here very long, just a little while. And today we're going to talk about having the power to survive, then have the strength to live. Now, there is definitely a difference between surviving and living. Anybody can survive until they die, but it's very hard to have the strength to live the life if it's fully as God planned it for you. God planned a life for you that is fulfilling, is a blessing, it's a good time, it's family, it's friends, children, brothers, uncles, aunts. All those things are what it takes to live. To survive means that all you have to do is just keep the body warm and working until you die. Now that's surviving. But we want to give you some thoughts on how to live this life, how to not be so caught up in what other people do and what other people say. So I want you to know, no one likes to focus on the difficulties of this life. No one at all. So what I would like for you to do is to begin to think and focus on the thing that brings you peace, brings you joy, and brings you love. Because when you try to live this life through the negative eyes of someone else, all you're doing is surviving. When you're at the very epitome of the life where you should be enjoying what's going on, and all you're doing is struggling to make it from one end to another. Now, we all know money's good because you can buy whatever you want, things that please you, and whatever it fits your fancy. But let me tell you, money isn't the answer to anything except for splurging on things you like. Because I'm going to tell you, it will not fill a void of a lost loved one. It will not bring you friendship when you need it. It has nothing to do with the emotions within you. The only thing that will do that is you yourself being connected to the people that you love and that loves you. Having the intelligence to see that a person doesn't belong in your life and don't allow them in there. There's plenty of vultures sitting on the fence line waiting for some weak person to show a sign of that weakness. Then they'll swoop down and fill that void with nice words and make you believe they understand how you feel, make you believe that they really care for you. And then when they have you totally hooked, then the life of hell begins. Be aware of who you tie yourself up to. Because to have the power to survive is one thing. Strength to live, this is what comes with it. The strength to live is being aware of who is in your life, being aware of who you are, not allowing your weaknesses to become somebody else's tool to use you. Don't you know when a person's mate dies, well, they're very vulnerable. And there's always someone on the sideline just waiting for that time when they know you're weak enough that they swoop down on you. The keys to living is being aware who you are, who's around you, and who you allow in your life. It is very unfortunate many times people have advantage taken of them. But you know, when you have the strength to live, you should use these abilities to be able to see that. And then when you decide that you want in your life what God put you here for, then you have the faith in God and you have the strength in you to wait for the right time, the right people, and the right things to come into your life. Now, these things today, I'm going to tell you a couple, 3 stories today that should shock your environment. Number one is you never know about somebody else. You know, I was raised in Stockton, California, and I was there for 70-something years before we moved to Tulare. Well, every day I'd drive up and down Main Street, and I would see this man, shirt half on, half off, whether it was raining, whether it was sun shining, and he'd walk in the streets between the curb and the traffic, and never paying attention to the traffic, just walking back and forth, and he would bend down and pick up something, and he would inspect that, whatever he picked up. The next thing, he would either throw it away or put it in his pocket. I never seen him with a lot of baggage. I never seen him with a lot of anything. His shirt was always half on, half off. Now, I watched this man for probably up to 20 years. And every now and then, he'd be gone. And what I found out later, he had ended up in a mental hospital. But I watched him. He done the same thing every day. He would walk in the traffic. He'd bend over. He'd pick up an item, no matter what it was. I never approached him, never talked to him. But I seen him every day that he was on that street because I traveled it a lot. Now, something had to bring him to the point of whatever he was doing. Now, he was probably at peace with himself. He didn't care about the surroundings. He never carried baggage. I seen him a couple, 3 times communicating with a person in the market, but very shortly, then he'd be back out in the street, picking up little items, inspect it, either throw it or put it in his pocket. Now, this man done that for years and years. Then finally, one day, he was gone. I never seen him again. And I asked a few people around about him, and they said that his family at one time was very wealthy, and he turned out to be mentally empowered with just surviving. He wasn't interested in political things. He wasn't interested in what you had to say. He picked things up on the street, either threw them away or stuck them in his pocket, and never, ever had any baggage. So it was amazing that this man went 20 years or more doing this. Now, that's what I call a waste of life. God did not mean for that man to do that. He meant for that man to have a life. Something on this earth made him that way. Something on this earth put him in a position of instability that all he did was get up every morning and walk the streets, go to bed at night, get up and do it again. Never seen him do anything. How he survived, I have no idea. But see, people focus on what keeps them going. Now, his focus was on that road. That was his life. He's in that. So one, he hadn't got run over. But people got used to seeing him. I know I did. I traveled that road every single day. But what I'm telling you today is whatever took him, whatever took his mind, whatever caused that, people were involved. This is why it's very important to be aware who we're with. And another time, I'm walking down this road going into a market, and I see this man that has a push cart, a grocery cart, full 2, 3, 4 feet in the air, piled with whatever, and had 4 dogs tied to the side of it. So I walked up to him and I gave him $20, and I said, go buy these dogs some food. Now, all the dogs' tails were wagging. They were happy. They were in their prime. They were doing. The man was happy. He just took that $20 like that was a normal thing to do. Then after I got to talking to him a little bit, I turned to go, and he said, well, just a minute. He reached down in his 5-gallon bucket and pulls out 4 tiny puppies. And he was like a proud father. He said, these belong to her. And he pointed to a dog that was tied to the cart. I mean, he was proud. He was happy. He didn't seem to have anything other than what he had, and he was happy to have it. And the dogs were happy. So we don't know what it takes to make a person happy. But we need to know what makes us happy. We need to know, are we just surviving until we die? Or do we plan on living? This day and age, with what's going on in this world, living becomes a project. I mean, if you're going to live and be comfortable, you have to be aware, you have to watch everything you do. You never know when difficulties are going to come your way, and you have to focus on what's happening right now. If your focus is on the past, you'll miss living for the moment. If your focus is on what's coming up or how great it's going to be later on, you're missing what's going on right now in your life. That when you focus anywhere except for where you're at today and what you're doing, you're robbing yourself of living. Your money isn't the issue. The money is going to come and go. And if you're one of those people that have plenty of it, well, that's all well and good. But you can't hug money and it'll hug you back. You can't love money and it'll love you back. It's just an animate object that is used as a tool to get things that you need. To do what we call living, we need to be in a position that we know where we're at, and we know what we're doing, and we know why we're doing it, and we know who we're doing it to, and we're doing it for the right reasons. Because you shouldn't do anything to anybody that you wouldn't feel comfortable for them doing to you. That will give you ample sleep at night. It will make you feel good in your heart. It'll keep your stress level down. Now, today's show is a little bit different because I've went through some crazy stuff this week myself. I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me last week. I got into my 93 Toyota, a little white car that I bought last year. It's a 93 Toyota. It's a unique little car. And so I get into it and I go to Target. And I park, I go in, I buy my groceries and whatever I bought and go back, and I get in my little car. And so I go home. Well, I decided I didn't get exactly what I wanted, so I was going back. So I get back out the door, I go back to Target. I go inside, buy my groceries, whatever. It's over 100 degrees outside. I bought ice cream. I'm pushing this cart out the door. And I'm going up and down the aisles, and I cannot find my car. It wasn't stolen. I know nobody's going to steal a little ugly thing like that. So I just said, I know it's here because I brought it here. I go up and down. Now, we're not talking 10 or 15 minutes. We're talking about 15, 30 minutes. You know? So people started coming up to me and saying, sir, can we help you? You know, I mean, it's 100 degrees. My ice cream's already liquid. And I know my car's there. So I told them, no, everything's fine. I've got it. This is all under control. So I'm going up and down this aisle. This little silver car pulls up with a lady and her daughter in it. She said, sir, can you find your car? I said, yes, I'll find it. I mean, it's here. I know it's here somewhere. She said, well, I want to help you to do it. I said, no, everything's fine. I'm doing okay, and don't worry about it. So she left. I'm trying to get rid of her. So I go up and down these aisles. Here she comes again. Same lady and her daughter in the car. She said, sir, she said, I need to help you find. I said, look, I'm old and I've been through a lot, and this isn't anything. I'll take care of it. This will be fine. You just go ahead and take care. She said, I do not want to leave you here. I said, ma'am, I said, I'm fine. I started to tell her I was 81 years old. Then I was afraid she'd call a cop, because if I was that old and doing this dumb thing, I was really in trouble. So I stopped, and I just said, look, I'm old enough. I've done a lot of things. I'll deal with this. I'll find my car. It's here. I just can't remember, I guess, where I parked it. She said, well, I really don't want to leave you. I said, no, everything. So she left. And I go up and down. I cannot find my car. So here she comes back again, her and her daughter. This time the daughter gets out of the car, walks up to me, and says to me, do you know the color of your car? I said, oh my God. She thinks I'm out of it for real. I said, yeah, it's white. It's a Toyota, and it's a unique little coupe, 93. She said, well, me and my mom's going to drive up here and try to find it. So they left again. And as I'm doing it, here comes a Target employer, says, oh man, you know what? Let us help you do it. I said, look, I'm going to find my car, don't worry. So finally I said, this is it. I'm going to call my wife, have her come and get me, and then I am going to find my car. So just as I'm fixing to put my finger onto the button that dials my wife, this thought comes in my mind. She can't come and get you because you have got her car. I said, oh my God. I kept telling everybody, I'm looking for a white Toyota and I'm in a brown SUV Chevrolet. And so immediately I was relieved, because I was beginning to wonder if I didn't lose it totally. See, I focused on everything but what I need to focus on. When I come back as quick as I did, I walked out the door and my wife's car was there, so I took it instead of getting into mine. So again, I'm going back to and now I know where the Chevrolet's parked. Then the worker comes up and said, this lady come to us and said you had a problem finding your car. I said, well, no, you're looking at an idiot, because all I'm doing was looking for a white Toyota, and I'm driving a brown Chevrolet SUV. He said, oh. I said, if you can find that lady, you tell her thank you, but I did find it. You see, I begin to believe this is the beginning of the end for me, because I knew I'd come there, and I knew I had come in this Toyota white car. My mind wouldn't go anywhere else. I didn't focus on reality. I focused on the strength of my memory, which undoubtedly was at a zero level at that time. So that was not a good thing for me, but it did. Here's what it did for me. This is what God allowed me to learn out of it. Is I've always said, and if you look at my old shows, you'll see, I've always said, us old people are invisible, nobody can see us, and then none of the young people care whether we live or die. Well, here's what I got to tell you, is that lady and her daughter were in absolute agonizing pain over my misery. So I was wrong in what I said. There is people still out there that care about the elderly of this country. And those two, if I could find them, I'd love to have them on the show. I guarantee it would be the funniest thing in the world for what they were thinking as I was dealing with it. So the key thing is this, is I learned something out of that. I learned that there is people that do care about the elderly. So the power to survive and the strength to live are two separate things. All I was doing was trying to survive until I found my car. The strength to live kind of left me because I was beginning to wonder if this wasn't the end. But no one likes to focus on the difficulties of this life. This life is wonderful, this life is great. But if we're in something ugly, we need to learn how to get into something beautiful. Now we're at halftime now, and we're going to take a break. And when you come back, hopefully I'll have something different to say. God bless. See you in a moment.
Gained a lot, learned a lot, and got a lot of love. If it weren't for the knowledge that I had gained from the classes at PCC, I probably wouldn't be the mom I am today. See, there it goes.
I would love you to meet my son Aaron. My situation was very difficult. I didn't know how my life was going to turn out.
We graduated in June 2010, and we got married in July. And through family, the Pregnancy Care Center changed our lives.
The Pregnancy Care Center was a huge, vital part in helping me walk through that pregnancy, in educating me and loving on me during that time.
Sometimes good intentions hurt rather than help. For just $1.76 per meal, The Fresno Rescue Mission offers more than food. We offer hope. Please donate today.
I'm back. Okay. Now, what I want to talk to you about today, and for the rest of the show, it's not what takes you to the desperate times in this life. It's how we respond to coming out of it. The things we do, what we try to hang on to, and what we know we need to turn loose of certain things, but we just can't do it. And even though it takes us into a desperate time or takes us into a desperate relationship, we don't know how to turn it loose. You see, we have to get into a reality, because a little exercise that would do you good, take a marking pen and you put it on any, like wherever the second hand's at or wherever the minute hand's at this time, reach up and do a mark on there. In a few minutes, you're going to see distance between that mark. Then when you see the distance, by the time you can rearrange yourself and get to another thought, 5, 10, 15 minutes have passed. That should show you that for that period of time, was you in misery or was you okay? Now, if you were in misery, that clock keeps going. Now, there needs to be a time that you look at that clock and say, this is the last time I'm going to be miserable in my own accord. For what I'm going to do, I'm going to be into a position of happiness, peace, love, joy. I'm going to watch that clock as it passes in happiness. Then when bad things happen, we deal with them. But the moment we get through grieving, the moment we get through dealing with the things that life had thrown at us, then we need to get back to being sure that the time that's ticking away isn't being wasted. Because, see, I remember when I was 10 years old. Now, I'm 81. Now, do you think that clock went around a few times since then? And when I got here, I have done many things in my life. But see, I can't change them now. Oh, I can look back and see what I did wrong. And I can look back and I can determine, oh my goodness, that was terrible. That decision was bad. You see, what we need to get into of living a happy life is determining the right now. What am I living in? What am I doing to keep my thoughts about the loving things of this planet, not the ugly things? You know, we have things in our life that causes us to feel miserable. You know, I was driving down a road one day and not thinking about too much and just driving, and begin to look at my past. Look at the ugliness. Look at the world I was at before I became a Christian, and the bars I hung out, the people that I met, the things that I had done. Then when I went to work for the syndicate, the things I done in that period of time, and thinking about times where I almost took other people's lives, and times where I almost lost my own, and looking, and so my thought goes to, why am I still here? What am I doing here? How can I possibly go on? Well, the way I go on is I set aside the past because nothing can be changed. I look forward to the future, but I live for right now. While I'm speaking to you, I'm living for this moment right now. I can't do anything about what I said in the first half. I can only do what I can do with what I say in the second half. Now, if I didn't say the things I wanted to in the first half, I can't do anything about that. So that needs to be just out of the program because I can't change it. But what I want to portray to you is you need to start focusing on the important things of life. If you're a stingy person, go out and buy something for somebody. If you're a big spender and spending money and staying broke because you're buying for everybody else, go buy something for yourself. Get out of the rut that you're in. Get into something that makes you feel good. And then repeat it. There is people that will love you. But you have to be lovable. Now, that's a project for some people. And I know them. I know a lot of people that are not lovable. Good people probably would do anything in the world for you because of what they have been brought up in, or what they've had to deal with, for people that had done them wrong, stabbed them in the back, has brought their mind to a point where they can't be who God made them to be. They're unlovable because what happened to them on this earth. Not because they're not capable of being loved. We need to look and see what's keeping us from being lovable. See what's keeping us from being able to minister to one another, talk to the people, be a pleasure to be around. Well, sometimes I can't even stand myself, much less somebody else. And see, that's not right. There is no way. You need to be in a position that you can receive people and you can talk to people. My pastor and I was having a conversation, and we were talking about people that we had ministered to in months back. And I've had people tell me, I just don't like people. I can't stand to be with them. I love going to church, but I don't like being around people. Now, you know, that's a contradiction of what God tells us to do. God says, how can you love me if you can't love your brother, and your brother being everybody else? And I guarantee you, I know that there's people that you need to love from a distance in order to continue to love them. Because I know in my lifetime, I have loved someone greatly. Months later, the next thing I know, I can't even stand them. And then there's other people I didn't like at all, never was ever going to be around them again, ended up loving them. So it's a state of mind, and it's what's in our heart depends on how we're able to deal with people. I mean, once I found out that I was not welcome somewhere, that broke me down. It almost made me a hermit, a recluse, because the fear of being rejected kept me from getting around people. And finally, God just said, you need to get over that. And I did. And that's why I'm here. I'm trying to tell people what I went through so they don't have to go through it. And don't tell me for a moment, if you've had people reject you and you found out you wasn't welcome in a place you spent a lot of time, it breaks your heart, it sets you aside. But all people are not like that. That's what changed my mind about the vehicle thing, is when I discovered that I was in the wrong car. That's why I couldn't find the one I was in. In that process, I found out that this lady and her daughter were in pain because they seen me in a state of mind that was not healthy. They were genuinely concerned for me. So all this time, I have had everybody in one big box full. Everybody's the same way. Nobody cares about the elderly anymore. But they're there. The people are there that do love. And they're out there. They're wanting to love. There's lonely people on both sides of the spectrum. There's people so lonely they can't stand it, but afraid to reach out to the wrong person. So when two lonely people get together and make a happy couple, that's a blessing of God. So quit taking chances on a online thing. Oh my God, that has to be crazy. I am blessed. I have my mate for life. But when I read about the horror stories of the online elderly trying to date, my goodness, there's vultures are 100 to 1 for the lonely, you know. They're out there, they're looking for money, they're looking for this, they're looking for that. So don't let desperate times steal your mind. Don't let the things of this world cause you to do things that will cause you to even be more miserable. I want to tell you, you know, one day when I was pastoring back in the 90s, well, before I pastored, I done a street ministry and helped druggies, alkies, people that have lost things, their children and things. Well, I'm driving down 99 Highway, just feeling miserable. I'm in a nice car. I've got enough money. I can pretty much do what I want. And I'm just miserable. I mean, I allowed people to create in me a dislike for people. And I'm thinking, man, bad things are always happening to me, and I'm always doing good things for other people. So what in the world is going wrong? I mean, I'm just whining like I'd lost the whole world, and I just couldn't stand myself, and I was so angry at the world. And I'm pastoring a church, and that's a heck of a position for a pastor to be in. So I'm driving by and I see this restaurant. Never been in it before in my life. So I go in, and when I walk through the door, this young lady, she's probably in her 20s or 30s, come up to me and she said, "I know you." And I thought, oh my God, there ain't no way she knows me. She said, "Your name is Herb Keener." I said, "Well, you know, that's a good guess because that's who I am." So she took me back and seated me. She said, "I have a daughter that would love to thank you for bringing her mother back." Now, I don't know this lady from nothing. I don't know her from anywhere. Have not a clue. She told me, she said, "I came to your ministry one night," and this had to be years ago, and she said the CPS had taken her children because she's drugs and alcohol and all that. And she said, I was crying and in pain. She said, "You set me down and you told me exactly how to get my daughter back." She said, "I done everything you told me to do. I worked at it. I had the patience." She said, I done everything you told me to do. She said, I got my daughter back. She was just a baby. I think she was 10 or 11, 12 years old when she's telling me this. She said, I want to thank you. And she said, I've got a daughter that would love to thank you for bringing her mother back. So after I ate, I'm walking out the door, and I said, as I'm going out the door, I said, okay, Lord, I get it. I'm whining about just feeling miserable. And here this lady was losing her child. And God gave me the strength, the wisdom, the knowledge to put in her heart that she done it and got her child back and was doing good with her. So I said, okay, Lord, I get it. I'm whining about just feeling miserable, and this lady was fighting for her child's life. I get it, Lord. So that took me out of the feeling bad group, because number one, I thought, wow, I don't have anything wrong with me other than my mind of being miserable with myself. And this lady was battling for her child. So we need to put into perspective just how bad our lot in life is. Are we in a position to look around and say, we've got everything and whining, and here we have somebody that's battling for their life? So there needs to be a time that we need, without a doubt, to be able to stand up and say, just how bad am I? Now, if you're whining about your house isn't big enough, and you can't see how many people's out there that has no house at all, then that's an issue. It doesn't matter the condition of your home. It doesn't matter the size of your home. It matters that you have one that'll keep you out of the rain, out of the heat. You have a place to cook. You have a place to go to the restroom. You have a place to do all the things that thousands, probably millions of people on this earth right now don't have. So we need to put everything in perspective. We always want things to be good and be the same forever. The problem with that is change comes every day, and from all different directions, from your loved ones, from your enemies, from your friends, from just daily things, your job, the things that you try to make a living with, the things you try to buy, the things you try to sell. Things change, problems arise. But you have to have the knowledge and the wisdom to be able to deal with it. Otherwise, you're just an exister. Don't be an exister. Be a lively person. Have the strength to live. The strength to live is to do what it takes to be happy. Do what it takes to be in a position that you can help other people, not expect help. You can't be an exister and help anybody, including yourself. In order to be an exister, all you need is breath. In order to be a person that has the strength to live, you have to stand up. You have to be counted. You have to know your values. You have to live your values. Well, I tell you, I've been in misery so many times I didn't know what's up or down. One day I think it was in the 90s and maybe the early 2000s, I'm driving a nice car. Again, have money that I can buy pretty much what I want, whether it's on credit cards or on credit or whatever. And I'm driving down and I am feeling, Lord, why are the bad things happening to me? I am sick and tired of these people using me and abusing me, and I can't stand this life. It's miserable. It's terrible. And I mean, this is after I was pastoring, so I'm just upset. I can't do anything. I'm mad and just angry and grumbly and stupid old man. So I'm driving down the road and I stop at this red light. And I look off to the right. And one of these electric wheelchairs, this lady was so deformed with arthritis or whatever, and she had to operate that with her chin. She wasn't flexible enough to operate the wheelchair. She had a big floppy hat that just flopped up and down, and had the greatest, most beautiful smile on her face. And I mean, she come off of that curb, and I watched her from the time she left there. I mean, she was dressed, and I mean, I'm thinking, what do you think it took to get her dressed and ready for that day? And I mean, she was just smiling. She was happy. Just a beautiful look on her face, and she was cruising. The hat was just flopping up and down, and she went across in front of me and went to the other side. And I had seen her before from a distance, but this time I'm looking at her close up. I'm sitting here whining, healthy, have money, I can drive my car, I can walk, I can do all these things. And here comes this lady, so twisted up. I mean, her body was just twisted with whatever ailment she had, smiling just as big as she wanted to smile, and you could see happiness in her eyes. I guarantee you that changed me that day. That's been many years ago. But I'll tell you what, when I seen that face, and I seen it, I was so ashamed of my thoughts. I was so ashamed of who I was. I had people all around me. She'd by herself in this wheelchair, just, you know, if she was capable, I bet she would have been singing. But she was so happy and so blessed. And I pretty much had anything I wanted, and I was miserable and couldn't see straight. You think God doesn't use things in this life to teach you just who you are and what you have? And how dare you discount your life as worthless when you have somebody here that has every right to be complaining, smiling, and traveling down the road? That, I mean, it almost made me break down to the point of shame. I went home and told my wife about it, and I bawled like a baby because I was so ashamed, so hurt that I was acting like I was in misery. Then God showed me what misery could be. If you think you've got it bad, look around. Don't get caught up in things that don't mean anything. Don't get caught up in a world of naysayers and liars and thieves and people that want to drag you down. Pull yourself out. Stand up. Christians, you need to start being a Christian. Christian means Christ in us. Start exposing yourself as a Christian in motion, or change your name. If you're going to call yourself a Christian, be one. If you're not, change your name. Change your name to wannabe. Because if you're not, and you really want to be, call yourself a wannabe until you get back in track. Quit being stupid like the world. Get love in your heart. Get action in your works. Quit talking about people. Start doing for people. The people you're putting down, start helping them get up. The people you're lying to, start telling them the truth. Then your name can go from wannabe to a true Christian. Because if you don't, I promise you, now this is a promise I'm going to make to you, on your deathbed, it will all come back to you. But you can't do anything about it there. You can only do things about it now. That's why you need the strength to live. Because if you don't have the strength to live, all you're doing is existing. God doesn't like existers. He put you on this planet to live. Not to lie, not to cheat, not to steal, not to talk about your neighbor, but to help your neighbor, to tell the truth, to be honest, to be trustworthy. It takes a long time to change the minds of the people watching you when they know you're a liar and a thief, cheater. It takes a long time to change. But it starts right now. Because nothing lasts forever. Next thing you know, somebody will say, my goodness, that person is a real Christian. Now, if you're not calling yourself a Christian, you're just in the world, you can do anything you want. Because it doesn't really matter. You don't have anything to prove to anybody. And as a Christian, you don't have anything to prove to anybody except for yourself. You prove to yourself that you serve the Lord because you want to be a good person. And when you die, you want to die at peace and not die alone. So as we close today, I'm sure that I rambled on and said a lot of things. But as Mike Briggs and I were talking, I'm going to get better. So keep tuning in. Subscribe to this channel so that you can get these. And you can always delete them. Delete the ugly ones and look at the good ones. God bless. See you next time.